Hey everyone, it's Jason, and this is your weekend cruise news update, and I want your opinion. Do you think this is fair compensation for this cruise line's failure? So cruise story number one, and this one blows my mind, and I have so many questions. So on Royal Caribbean's Ovation of the Seas, they found a stowaway cat. Now this cat was found by biosecurity agents from New Zealand in a passenger cabin. And what biosecurity agents were basically doing is routine checks in New Zealand, and they're checking for pests, they're checking for animals, they're checking for plants, anything that they feel could be environmentally unfriendly to New Zealand. Well, when they found this cat, they handed it over to the captain, who ensured that it would not get off in one of the ports in New Zealand. Because this was a 19-day cruise with multiple stops in New Zealand. And then on the last stop, they took the cat into quarantine. And they will now, once it goes through quarantine, they'll make sure to send it back to Arizona, to where the passengers are from. My question to all this is, how the heck did they get this cat on board? And have they done this before? They were so comfortable, they went from Arizona to Hawaii, where the cruise originated from, and they somehow snuck the cat on a 19-day cruise. I have to say, they either snuck it on board somehow, they had some knowledge, they've been sneaky and done this before, or they had some inside help. The interesting thing about all this is Royal Caribbean is covering all the expenses of the quarantine and of the sending of the cat back to Arizona. I think they feel that basically, hey, look, it was on us that we allowed it on the ship, so we're going to handle that. The other interesting thing is these people could have been prosecuted in New Zealand because of this. They're not going to be. What do you guys think about all this? How the heck did they get this on the ship? What do you think about Royal Caribbean not just basically kicking them off and saying, c'est la vie, and they didn't get prosecuted in New Zealand? Can't wait to hear your comments. So before I get to cruise story number 2, I would ask that you please like this video, as it does help the channel grow. Also, consider subscribing, as I do daily cruise news shorts and tips and tricks. I also do longer cruise videos on Saturdays, Sundays, and now Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Thanks so much. So cruise story number 2, and this one has me fired up. So the story is the P&O Pacific Explorer. It left from Sydney, Australia. It was supposed to visit New Zealand, and it was 8 port stops in New Zealand. Now in cruise story number 1, we talked about biosecurity agents. They also check the hull of ships. And they don't want anything on the hull of the ships to be environmentally unfriendly in New Zealand. This is well known. This is what New Zealand does. If you want to go to New Zealand as a cruise ship, you have to play by their rules. So that means regular hull cleaning. When they left Sydney, Australia, they absolutely knew they were going to have their hull cleaned. They got to New Zealand, and the problem is there was bad weather. And it was going to be 3 or 4 days before they could have the hull cleaned. And biosecurity agents would not clear the ship to go to New Zealand. So the 13-day Kiwi adventure to New Zealand, they couldn't go to any of those stops. And they tried to put some other locations there. There's multiple days at sea and a couple, other destinations they're going to go to, but nothing like New Zealand. Now here's what gets bad. Is they offered originally passengers 25% future cruise credit. 25%. Then they added $300 shipboard credit per person. The anger started boiling over. Passengers getting upset. They're going to guest services. They're starting to reach out to social media. So then they think this is going to be sufficient. They add a 50%, up to 50% future cruise credit. Now here's the kicker. In February of this year, this same ship was also denied entry into New Zealand for the same reason. This is 100% on the cruise line. They know the rules and they're trying to get by it by being cheap. You're playing the game in New Zealand. You gotta pay for it, right? So passengers more upset. And I just saw right now an update 10 minutes ago that they are going to convert that future cruise credit into a 50% refund. I don't know if that's enough. 13 days on the ship, like 4 or 5 more sea days, a couple average stops. To me, that's disappointing. You book this cruise, people, 13 days, that's a long time. And that's what you come up with? A 50% refund? I'm going to say this. This is on you, P&O. You should give a 100% refund. I don't want no future cruise credit from you because I don't ever want to go back. Never. So keep your 50% future cruise credit. Don't even consider offering it. Give me a 100% refund. I'll go find another cruise line to go on. What do you guys think? Would you be happy with that? I mean, the final 50% refund. And what they said is we heard our guests' feedback. I'm sure you did all over social media. My opinion's still not enough. Look forward to hearing from you in the comments on this one. I do appreciate you guys watching. Thank you again so much for the support. Until I talk to you next time, happy cruising.